Hey friends, Rose here, and today I'd like to go over something that I made for the class at Rose Awakening. These aren't quite settled, but they're jars of dirt and water. I used to have really nice ones when I taught yoga for kids that had sparkles and stuff in them. I don't know what I did with them, so you get dirt and water. But as this starts to settle, I wanted to use this as an analogy, a visual to help anchor what happens in your aura as you do spiritual work and what can happen. And so for many, many people spiritually, what I've seen is that they have so much pain, so much subconscious stuff in their systems. And a lot of times it's that pain that makes them want to be on the spiritual path. They're trying to find some way out of this constant pain. And so you can have some pain up in your system. This again hasn't all settled yet, but what some people do spiritually is that they will stay so calm. They'll arrange their lives to be so chill, so spiritual, so focused on love and light, so that all of this will settle. It'll settle into your subconscious. And when that happens, obviously this is much more clear. And so you're living in this and you feel really good. You may be somebody who's just beautifully embodied. You're able to move through the world in this bliss way, and people feel all this love from you. And that's wonderful. That said, there are very specific stages of the path where if you have this sentiment at the bottom of your system, in your subconsciousness, you will never embody a higher degree of light. Even if, for a lot of people, just living in this example of having all this settle to the bottom feels incredible. The problem is that the spiritual path isn't just about feeling incredible. It's not just about tranquility. Sure, if you want to manage stress and you want to use spiritual practices to manage stress, then that works. But if you're using your spiritual practices to actually embody your soul, your higher self, so that you can express your greatest notes, your greatest gifts of expression into this world as it relates to a higher plan of humanity, that you get to use your existence to better serve the dysfunction on many, many levels of families and your life, your work life, and society at large. And there are internal benefits to that. The joy that a person feels when all this just sinks to the bottom and they're living just a spiritually focused life, it's not true fulfilling joy. To embody your soul and to live from that and the way that your life then arranges because you're doing that is something that's totally untapped to this other way of being. The thing is that in order to move through this bottom content, you need to purposely have intentions in your life to say, I want to face that content. Without those intentions, you're only going to process through a little bit in each lifetime. And maybe you have Kundalini awakening, spiritual awakening, and it sets off the purification process in your system. And you do go through certain batches of this. But if you don't know how to go through this with your soul, with your intentions, and you find a way to truly process things out, what most people are doing is that they just keep changing the water. They do spiritual practices, but they're not actually getting to the seeds of things. And so they keep I'm just going to keep changing the water, but over time, the same bacteria is in there, all the dirt is still in there, and everything just grows back, and you're not actually getting to the seeds. And so what I go over in Rose Awakening is how to set up your system to work with this process in a way that's balanced, efficient. And there's studies behind it that show that when you do it this way, it's the most efficient way that we know of in this time to support your spiritual development. So you're not just bypassing, you're actually moving through this crud. And when you move through the crud, it gives you potential then to access higher planes of information, higher planes within the mental plane, within the emotional plane that you're able to work within. If you're not freeing up this matter, it doesn't matter. Yeah, you'll feel a lot of prana, really strong prana. You'll have a lot of vision, psychic vision, mysticism. You can feel like a spiritual leader, and like 99% of spiritual leaders in the world are operating with this type of dynamic. And so nothing wrong with that, or bad in that. It's just like we're at an evolutionary point where we have so much more capacity, and let's start living to that capacity. Let's understand the maps of our development, how our auras and our systems work, and then work with it. What happens in our lives is that when we just keep trying to keep things chill, and then life like comes and shakes it all up, and then we're like, ah, or a person goes, I just want to stay chill all the time. I can't actually work. I can't, I don't want to really engage in the world. I don't want to engage in things because things get shaken up. Well, it's like, let's not be afraid of the shakeup. Let's start to move it through in batches in healthy ways. So, all right, if you made it this far, I'm wishing you so many blessings, and take care.